Please go to the diary room.
Every single season and learn everything that there is to know about everybody.
Please make your way to the diary room.
Celebrity, Brandon!
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Diary Room. We are getting ready for some March Big Brother, not so Big Brother season. This is the first March we're going to have in a while without Big Brother. So we're kind of in mourning for that. But we have just the fix for you that you need to get some BBCAN on with our guest here today. Before I bring him in, of course, I am Matt. I'm here with Aman. Aman, happy March.
Happy March. Yeah, you know, I'm really missing that northern energy right now, but we've really been coming through thus far with the Big Brother Canada support on this show, and I'm really excited for our guest today because once again, maybe we don't have a lot of BBCAN12 popping up on the wheel, but they're sure popping up in the diary room, and I'm ecstatic for him to be here with us today. So
yeah, we've been knocking down the door on this season here. It's a season that aired just about a year ago. We were just talking to him about how this time last year he was getting ready to go compete on Big Brother Canada 12. So welcome into the diary room, Goose. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Was there, actually, let me ask you a question right off the bat before even asking you how you're doing. Well, I kind of did that already. Did you ever think you were going to go by Elijah on the show, or was it always Goose?
Goose literally was like created within the show. Like no one ever called me Goose. A friend of mine, he referred to my laugh as like going full Goose.
Okay.
So like it was the first day in the house. I mentioned that because they're all talking about my laugh. And then Donna was like, that should be like him. So Donna started calling me Goose. Then everyone did. And I was just like, I mean, if they're calling me a nickname, I'm probably good for at least like 4 weeks in here. I'll take it. Thanks. So yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go. You and what was it, 5 weeks total?
Yeah, 5 weeks in a day. Yeah.
There we go. So
Okay.
you had the right idea.
Exactly.
But so glad to have you here. You had been watching a little bit of the podcast. We got in communication and finally got a chance to put this together as we again are kicking off a BBCAN-less March. But we're here. We're gonna get through the longer off season the best we can, and we'll talk some BBCAN today. So we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, great to be here. I really dig your podcast. And too, like I've seen like almost every season. I've seen all the Canadian ones. It's good to like hear people talk about it. It reminds me of the stuff I've forgotten. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and thank you for the support and thank you for watching. It's always like great that the people that we're talking about actually are, want to be involved in the conversation because it really just adds so much texture, so much context. Because the two of us are just out here being fans. So whenever we get the chance to talk to people that have actually been in the game, it's always a special treat. So shout out to Goose, y'all. I'm excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, great.
Say,
like I was a fan first, so like it's great to participate in stuff like this. Yeah,
for sure. I will say I definitely am going to continue getting more self-conscious, or maybe that's not the exact way to put it, as we go on. And the players that we're talking to start to get eliminated from the bracket. This already happened once. One player that's been eliminated.
Wasn't it Jessica from 21?
Yeah. And just like not everyone can win. So I'm just going to keep getting nervous about that as we go on. I don't know. Goose, are you going to be insulted if you ever get eliminated?
Nah, like I'm a pretty fair guy. I mean, it depends who I'm up against, like
exactly.
That's going to be like if I'm up against like a legend, like good game, rest in peace. But like if I'm up against like someone who's not a legend or like I just didn't think played well at all, then I might shed a tear, but I'll cope.
I can just see like anyone just no longer answering the DMs. I don't want to talk to you guys.
And I'm not bitter, so I'm sure I'll take it on the chin when I lose because I'm not winning the whole thing. Let's be honest. So it's going to happen eventually.
Let's bring it back though, Goose, to as we said, this time last year, you were getting ready for the show. So you were talking about also you're a super fan. Just walk us through your story and getting on Big Brother Canada.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was like I was a kid and my family and I, we watched Survivor and then we didn't get Big Brother at first. We saw it in like a motel when we were moving. And then it was season 3 was the first season we got on TV regularly. 1 and 2 we didn't have on TV. We didn't have cable. So like just growing up, I watched it, loved it. Eventually though, I just kind of, I don't know, I just like fell out of it a bit. But then I got back into it. I kind of like soft launched into it around season 15. I watched season 15, but then like I stopped for whatever reason. But then I think it was either Big Brother Canada 4 or Big Brother US 18 when I was like totally into it again. And then I'd go back and watch ones I've missed. There's still some I missed I need to watch. But yeah, ever since around whatever year that was, I've just been pretty diehard. I'm like, yeah, this is staying forever. I love it. I don't know why I ever kind of fell off the wagon. So yeah.
And had you applied a couple times, or was the
I applied but I don't think what am I allowed to say? I think I'm allowed to say I applied multiple times.
Doesn't get you in trouble.
Yeah, I applied. Yeah, I think I'm allowed to say how many times I applied. I applied 7 times. Yeah. So it was really good when I finally got on, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to my story. Like, I started with BB15. That was my first season. And then I got really, really into it, like you said, during BB18. That was like my first year out of college. I didn't have a job yet. Summer of 2016, I was like, well, let me just watch some Big Brother. And I got super duper into it. And I'm pretty sure I probably applied just about as many times as you have. So twinsies, hey.
Yep, your time's coming. Maybe this summer, you never know.
You never know.
And Goose, looking back on the season, BBCAN12 again a year ago, I'm hoping we're walking away with like all good memories and positive feelings. For anybody who didn't watch BBCAN12, we're going to get into some spoilers here, but Goose's game, it was, went up a couple times as a pawn, a pretty epic way to go out as far as the movie night massacre goes. But I'm hoping you still had a good experience.
Oh yeah, like I definitely had like the Charlie Brown experience, but I mean, I love Charlie Brown, so like it was fitting. And yeah, like overall, it was a great experience. Like I was kind of worried that like I'd go in and see how the sausage was made and it would like change it, but nah, I loved it. Production was great. Even though there's difficult times in the house, I love everybody on the season with me. It was a dream come true, honestly, and I'm so glad I got to play.
For sure.
It's great to
Yeah,
hear.
I was rewatching a little bit of Movie Night Massacre today just to refresh myself. And what a great production. Of course, we always know BBCAN puts on a great production, but I can't even imagine like when you guys walked into that room and saw the board with all the names on it and you're like, what the hell is going on? Because I again rewatched it today, so I remembered that you were put up by Anthony as the no eviction vote.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine. I mean, you can certainly tell us when you walk in, you see you're not a nominee, but you're not a veto player. And you're just like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah. At first I just go in and I saw I wasn't on the block and I was like, I'll take that as a win at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. And I'm like, I never vote any week. So what's the difference? Right. And then I'm looking around and I'm seeing who the nominees are and I'm shocked. And then I'm kind of thinking like, I'm not having the vote. Like I won't be able to really like get my word in on how I want this to go, depending on the veto goes. Could be tricky, but I didn't think I was going to get put up. Like Spicy's such a good player, such a good liar. Like I should have had the pieces to be like, nah, I'm in serious danger here. And then by the time I realized like, I'm probably toast. It just went by so fast. It was such a crazy night. Like I think if I had 15 more minutes, half an hour more, I think there's a really good chance I stay. But I mean, it's the game. It's just the way it goes. Yep. And I'm glad I made it as far as I did, honestly.
And Amon, you remember the way that all rolled out for us with like the feed drop, not the feed drops, the live, whatever clips that they have been giving us those past 2 seasons. Like they were holding it back. They didn't give us anything because they didn't want to spoil the results. But then I don't know, I'm sure maybe Goose, you've heard about this, but
oh yeah, I heard.
So then your exit interview doesn't even go on the episode because of the way that they did everything. But a press release comes out saying like, interview with Goose from BBCAN12, and it's like, oh, he's evicted, which came out like before the episode aired. It was a little messy.
Yeah.
But
what can you do?
And I was rooting for you, Goose. Like
Appreciate
going into the season, I drafted you on the RHAP podcast. I was like, yeah, like I feel like he's got it. But you know what? The way that you went out is in a more iconic way. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. If you got to go, that's a pretty good way to go.
Exactly.
Movie Massacre.
And you do stand as the one vote for our friend Anthony Douglas.
Yeah, exactly.
Big Brother Canada history.
Yeah, I got that under my belt too. Yeah,
I'm sure he's very thankful for that vote.
Yeah, it gave me a big hug when we were able to like on the stage. So yeah.
I
didn't think I was going to be the only vote because I thought Lexus was going to vote for him too. But also I didn't think like he would be the one to cut Lexus. So I didn't really have time to compute that like, because of that, I think that could be a factor. So yeah, I was surprised I was the only vote. Like I knew he wasn't winning against Bailey. Like that was pretty obvious in the jury house. But like I didn't think it would be so cut and dry.
For you, was it that you of course knew him coming into the season as a big fan? Did that carry any weight of like this guy, like you knew what a good player he is and rewarding him in your season felt like, kind of a slam dunk, or was it like specific gameplay in BBCAN12 that made you want to vote for him?
I mean, I definitely do feel good that he got a vote because, like, personally, Dane's a great player, no doubt about that. But personally, what I liked his game in 7 better. And but I didn't want to do like a legacy vote, or any kind of like a lot of people online were saying like, oh, it was a pity vote. It wasn't a pity vote. I knew I wanted to vote based on gameplay, and I'm not saying like I'm right. Like every juror's own perception what they like about gameplay. But for me, I wanted to be like this season, this game, what I saw, and I love Bailey's game. I think she's a great winner. I think she played a great game. But for me, I was just thinking like this guy, like he had a big target on his back. Like anyone should have like kept him far away from Final 2. Like I worked with them, but I was never going to go to Final 2 with them. And I never felt betrayed by him at any time because I knew I was never taking him to Final 2. So the guy doesn't owe me anything at the end of the day. Like, yeah, it sucks if he does this or that against me, but I'm not taking him to Final 2. And nobody should have wanted to do that. People were just so loyal to him, and he just had such a good like game in that way, and like he got people to backdoor their best friends. Like that's crazy. Like I love Bailey's game, but for me it was like that was nuts that he did that. Like how did that happen? That shouldn't have happened, and he did it. And it really made me realize like he's such a good player because it's not like what he thinks, oh, this is possible, this is impossible. He's like, this is what I want to have happen, and he does it.
Yeah, he's a lion. I mean, as he self-proclaims, he's one of those people that just sort of just like dives in, goes for it, knows when to pull back, knows when to apply pressure. This particular cast, I think, is a lot different, obviously, from BBCAN7. So, it makes things a little bit more topsy-turvy, but he was still able to weather that storm. So I'm not mad about that vote at all. Not at all.
And Goose, the last thing that I have of me looking back on your game today was you mentioned the Charlie Brown nature of it. I totally forgot that you had the HOH that got uplifted by or uprooted, I should say, by the twist that Victoria won something to get Vivek out of the house that had nothing to do with anything you set in place for that HOH. Truly just like at every turn, something got in your way.
Yeah. It's like if anything could go wrong, it would pretty much.
Yeah. So again, I'm glad that you're able to still have had a good experience, and you're a fan that it's stayed with you to still be a fan. So that's all you can ask for.
Exactly. I mean, you got to laugh in the same time. Like I got to 9th place. Like I'm sure everyone who went before me gladly would have taken my place. So like I can't be too upset,
Right. Yeah. Right.
So there we go. We have a wheel to get to today, where we're going to do our usual activity here. Amon, we are trying to find the best player of all time. So we get rid of 3 players an episode. And I also want to bring up, because this is the last episode in this batch of 5, the names that we've had so far in this current battle back round, not the most obvious name standing out to me at the moment of who could come back. So there's still 3 open spots from today's episode. You want me to read you the names and refresh?
Yeah, give us a little refresher.
All right. So the players who have lost in this current round, funny enough, started with Bailey and is now ending with Goose. So, nice little BBCAN12 sandwich. So we have from BBCAN2, Kyle. From BBCAN12, another BBCAN12, Vivek, just talking about him. From BB26, Kenny. BB18, Tiffany Russo. Big Brother 3, Eric. Big Brother 21/22, David Alexander. Chef Joe from BB14, Dallas from BBCAN4 and 5, Gina Marie from Big Brother 15. And then in the last episode, we lost BB25's Mimi, Nicole, BBCAN9's Josh, and Celebrity Big Brother Keisha Knight Pulliam. Of those names, again, I don't know for me that anybody stands out as like an obvious pick.
Yeah, that's an interesting mix.
Someone's going to come back.
Yeah, I wish Vivek could have gone against like Kenny or something.
Yeah, he had
a shot. Yeah, poor guy. You can't beat Suri unless you're like way up there.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, that's definitely an assorted bag.
Yeah.
And this is coming off. We just the battle back before this was the Emmett versus Cassandra. If we haven't said this on the main podcast yet, the winner of that battle back was Emmett. Cassandra did not return for now. Yep. Everybody look at him on. But another vote taking place after this episode with 3 more players that get eliminated. So we'll see. Maybe there's some hope for these 3 eliminated players. Who knows? But for now, let's pull up this wheel because it's got a lot of players on it. Goose wasn't lying when he said he's been a fan for a long time. So a lot of seasons here, a lot of players.
Yes. Thick wheel, honey. It's thick.
Are you ready to spin? Want to do it?
Let her rip. I'm
Let
excited.
her rip. First player of the day. First player of March.
Oh my gosh. The March madness of it all. Here we go.
That's literally what we're doing, a bracket in March. Hello.
What is it so small?
Up first is going to be...
Don't worry, it'll pop.
Ooh, we got a winner for
Oh,
you.
okay.
Hayden Moss.
Start.
Right off the rip. Hayden. Wait, is that's the winner, right?
That's the winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always get Voss and Moss mixed up.
Yeah, Hayden Moss, Hayden Boss. Know your Haydens. But no, this is the winner of Big Brother 12, not Big Brother Canada 12, Big Brother US 12. One-time Survivor player as well. Aman, you have your notes ready to go for Hayden?
Ready to go. All right. Hayden. During the early stages of the game, Hayden was targeted for being in a showmance with Kristen. However, his presence in the dominant Brigade Alliance and his ability to win 4 HOH comps allowed him to ultimately stay in the house for 75 days and receive 4 of the 7 jury votes to be crowned the champion over fellow Brigade Alliance member Lane.
There we go.
Pretty sure
Goose, kick us off here. What do you remember about Hayden and his BB12 win?
He's a great player, played a dominant game. He didn't do anything like too crazy, but I mean, he didn't need to. He was locked in with his alliance and he got to the W with that alliance. So I feel like he has a pretty good game sense. I feel like he generally always does a deep run. We saw I played Survivor, did a deep run there too. Just a really like solid all around player. Not the flashiest player, but I mean, he plays a good game.
It's intriguing, especially if you compare a Hayden or the Brigade to a Dane and the Pretty Boys. Obviously, it was the exact same formula repeated rather well over on BBCAN12's. But like, just not that anybody asked. If you ask me, I put Dane a lot higher than Hayden. It also could be the fact that I watched Dane do it in real time. I did not watch Hayden do it in real time. So like watching Dane every single week, it was just like I was very actively impressed and annoyed because the season was boring because he was doing so well. But I imagine it was pretty similar for Hayden. I mean, the 4 HOHs, he had those guys all like nobody was planning on turning on him to my memory. He had Kristen, who recently came up actually. And that was helpful for a couple of weeks just to have additional security. But even when he loses her, he's still fine. Aman, Hayden's, certainly up there when it comes to the winner rankings.
Yeah, I always forget about Hayden, and I don't know why. Because I think what I remember the most is the Brigade as a whole.
Yeah,
and I don't necessarily like parse out their individual games. But if I'm thinking about like what we've seen, because I wasn't around for the live feeds of BB12, but from what I can see in the edits is that he seems to be the one that kind of maintains a bit of control over the group. It feels like, obviously we know the story of Matt. When it comes to Lane, it feels like he's second in command. And when it comes to Enzo, he seems to be the one that does a lot of the social work of the alliance. But Hayden seems to be the one that is right at the top there. It was to the point there, where I remember watching BB12 for the first time and I was so annoyed that he was just getting away with everything, because back then I was just get the person that's obvious out, until I realized how this game actually works. And now I realize, it's because bitch, he's playing a good game. So I think he's definitely up there in terms of winners, like you said. And and his showing in Survivor Blood versus Water, he didn't do not too shabby over there either. So I think that Hayden is a pretty strong strategic force in both his appearances on CBS reality TV.
Goose, do you feel similar to me at all? If you have an opinion on it, of Hayden versus Dane?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with things both you're saying in regards specifically to Hayden versus Dane. Yeah, I think I would put Dane ahead of him. But I mean, it's like an A student and an A+ student.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I think if I had to pick between the two of them, I would go with Dane. But the interesting thing, that the only thing I might be maybe not, is because we haven't seen Dane play from the bottom, and we got to see Hayden do that in Survivor, and he was pretty good on the bottom still. So I'd be curious. I think Dane, though, would be able to handle being on the bottom, especially with his competition threats. I'm sure he could win some
no.
vetoes, But yeah, I think I would probably put Dane, but I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like Dane definitely surpasses Hayden in that, like, I think that he's obviously a lot more sociable, was able to play from the bottom in the last time that he was able to be evicted, and convincing Anthony to be like, bitch, I need you, Poppy. Like, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like there is definitely a better social component for Dane's game. But again, Hayden still, like you said, Goose, he didn't really have to do a lot, partly because the alliance was so solid, brick tight, and everyone else was just sort of, along for the ride and not knowing anything at all.
He's such an obvious threat. He's probably similar in some ways to like a Cody Calafiore, who just you come into a game, you see this charming man that is gonna have a good social game, that is gonna have these really nice conversations with you, make you feel comfortable, and you're aware that he's a threat. But the game is so effective because whether it's him or Cody, they're able to work well with you and make you believe that they can be a friend and not an enemy. And even though you're aware that you need to get them out at a certain point in the game, there's so many other players that look more of an obvious enemy that you feel like you need to get out sooner. And so that's why a Hayden or Cody can go so far. And Hayden, again, just really had no stink on him the entire season. Even with the Kristen thing, of course, the brigade members that were like, oh, let's, we have to separate them. Let's get her out. We're not worried about Hayden himself. He, is still working with us. He's still firmly on our side. It was never in doubt. So, and even the people like the Brittany's and I don't know, Reagan's, like people who weren't in the brigade, as far as I can remember, again, I don't feel like any of them were ever actively like Hayden is the one we want out. He just is able to keep himself at that lower threat level somehow.
Yeah. I think too, with Rachel and Brendan, Hayden and the rest of the brigade did a good job at like keeping the target over there as long as they're in the house. So that was pretty good gameplay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There's not a lot to say on Hayden when you consider the fact that he has a good chance of winning a matchup here. And so I guess the bigger discussion will come if he gets a tough opponent here, which...
Is it another winner?
Oh, that'd be wild.
I mean, look, again, we have a pretty wide open spot for a Battleback winner. So if this happens to be a tough matchup, there's that to consider. But let's see. Is this going to be a slam dunk and we send Hayden right on through, or do we have a tough conversation to start things off with Goose today?
Let's see. Oh,
it's going to be...
Spin that wheel.
Wheel spin number 2. Where does it lead us? A lot of BBCAN on the wheel. I wonder if one comes up.
What?
Clay
Honeycutt.
From 17, right?
Yep.
Big Brother 17's Clay Honeycutt.
I love that last name. I love that last name. It's just so like...
people don't usually think about his last name first when they think of Clay. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I mean, no, they don't. All right, well, Clay... After controlling the first 5 weeks with his showman, Shelly, he was put on the block against her due to Jason's eviction. After Clay asked the house guest to evict him instead of Shelly in week 6, he was evicted by a unanimous and 9-0 vote, placing 12th. He is also remembered for getting into heated arguments with some house guests for mumbling and for saying, "I'm a furless bat." I don't remember that specific tidbit, but okay.
Yes, he said something like that. He was just a big mutterer, and it just was never clear what he was saying. Also, I apologize for the audience at home. Clay is wearing a shirt in this picture, and I know I could have found a picture of him without a shirt.
Oh my God.
Those exist on the internet, so easy to find on your own if that's what you're looking for. But Clay Honeycutt, BB17, Goose, he's I think our final pre-juror of that season.
I think that's right. If not, he's like pretty close to the cusp there.
Yeah. Any strong memories of Clay and this wacky season of BB17?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I feel like he was probably like kind of a middle tier player where like he's not terribly bad, not terribly good, except for the fact, as you mentioned, he asked to be voted out. So he's definitely lacking the killer instinct, lacking the self-preservation, which are pretty big things to be lacking in Big Brother. I feel like a lot of players, like if everything goes their way, it's fine. And the moment something like this happens, all of a sudden it's all like, oh, loyalty and whatnot and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Clay, he wasn't bad in the beginning of BB17.
Mm-hmm.
Really was instrumental in setting up the power structure of the house. Was in a really solid position when it came to obviously having Shelly. He was in good with Vanessa, and then by proxy, obviously, with Austin and Liz, and sort of had this really, really good spot to be in the house. There was a moment, there was like a stretch of weeks where he didn't really have to do a lot because people that were in his alliance kept winning. And then Vanessa is going to do what she does and sort of like run the house. So he was in a pretty good spot. Things got really, really nasty, obviously, when his profile with Shelly really began to raise, and it was like, okay, are we really going to keep this showmance in the house? Like this is getting a little crazy. And that brought about his argument with James. And I feel like he just sort of became a bit of a liability afterwards. So I think, not a bad game player, but I don't necessarily know if he knows how to face adversity well and overcome it. So,
He was pretty confrontational. Like my immediate thought of just thinking of Clay Honeycutt in the year 2025 here is this man was a couple seasons too early from he would have gotten a challenge call. He would have 100% gotten that call and probably said yes and probably done a couple of seasons over there, because not only is he like eye candy, but also he was confrontational. He got into it with people, especially I want to say James, right? Because James is the one that takes him out of the game. He was all, that's the Davon stuff is early on. Audrey, you see a couple of scenes that aren't confrontational necessarily, but it's kind of a bit of a dummy. I don't know, when he's having those conversations with Johnny Mac and he's asking him like, hey, will you be a pawn? Hey, will you be a pawn again? Hey, will you be a pawn again? And you just always cut to Johnny Mac in the diary room, like, no, or however he says that. So they would have gotten their money's worth out of Clay on other shows, other appearances. I'm frankly surprised not even like a Big Brother like brought him back in anyway. I guess he's just moved on. But as far as his game in 17 goes, it was okay. Like you said, it started off fine.
I think it was a good game that unraveled very, very quickly.
That's
very quickly. Yeah.
Being a part of that group with the twins and Vanessa, Austin, when it came down to James wanting to get revenge on all of them and, for getting out Jason the week prior, and they just had relatively been in power, it made sense why he went after the showmans first. Shelly and Clay were pretty obviously a threat.
Yeah.
So
when in doubt, go for the showmans. It's generally a good idea.
Yeah. So there's that. You like BB17 Goose? Is that a season that you remember fondly?
Yeah, it's a good season for sure. There's a lot of interesting stuff that happened in there. At times it's kind of one-sided with like the power structure, but there's enough interesting stuff, so it's not boring by any means.
Trying to think if there's anything else, because like Ahmad, you're saying like he was such a big part of that early game. If there's anything else that we missed, if this is Clay's final moment here on the bracket, but I don't know.
I think a lot of his game was severely helped by Shelly sort of being the more power broker side of like what's going on between the two of them. Yeah. She was like the main one that was like, oh, you know what? I have this sorority thing going on with Liz. So that means like if Liz has a twin, then by extension we're going to be good. Let's bring her in. Like, so I feel like, where he failed, Shelly really pulled him through. And then that just sort of became such a massive target in the end. I think I really feel like targeting Davon, and I'm a Davon stan, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I feel like that's when it really started to become like, okay, you're doing a lot for nothing. And I think that sort of becomes a running theme for him towards like his demise. So it's just like, if he would have like just sat back and like been cool and let Shelly do all the talking, then it would have been fine. But he like, self-admittedly throws himself on the sword for Shelly. And it's just like, he probably could have did a lot more.
And did we talk at all about the relationship with Meg, the very huggy loving
Oh, yeah.
relationship at the time.
So he's
Remember
just
that?
a flirt, it sounds like. It
Well,
just
of
sounds like
course.
he'd just be talking.
It was just like there was a segment at one point, I think it was on his final days, that like it hadn't been really highlighted to that point, but then they're like, by the way, Meg and Clay, very good friends.
I always love when stuff like that happens. It's so funny. Where it's like, oh yeah, this is a relationship.
Right. Like, by the way,
These people talk game and personal.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
though he was obviously more showmanced with Shelley. Did they last at all outside of the game? Did they even give it a shot?
I don't think it was very long.
I don't think
No.
so.
I mean, obviously,
then-
I know they're not together today, but
Yeah.
And then there were rumors that him and Audrey hooked up at one point. Which is,
Hmm.
yeah. There was a
where was
lot
I?
with him.
Okay. Interesting vote here. A winner, Hayden Moss versus a pre-jury Clay Honeycutt. Is this a tough vote for anybody?
No.
No.
Okay. So you guys are both in agreement. Clay is going through.
No.
Goose, Hayden.
Yeah, Hayden definitely.
All right. I'm on.
Hayden Moss for sure. Sorry, Clay.
All right. Well, while I agree with you guys, and it is going to be a 3-0 vote, I should say it's actually not a 3-0 vote. This is a 3-1 vote.
Somebody.
Clay, that's interesting.
Shout out and apologies to Riley, one of our patrons, who cast a vote for Clay Honeycutt. And unfortunately here, it's not doing anything. And I think, Riley, you hold the distinction of the first time that this has happened, where it doesn't make a difference in the opposite way, unfortunately. But wide open space for campaigning for this battle back vote, I will say.
Interesting. I mean, like I said, he had a pretty strong beginning to his game. So
Yeah.
someone wanting to throw a little extra support just in case, not out of the realm, but he's paired up with the winner, Riley. So
Look,
so sorry.
The whole deal, if anybody hasn't is new or whatever, the patron votes, patrons at a certain level are able to cast a vote that matters here and now in the competition. But if it ended up being a 2-2 vote, if any of us had voted for Clay would have gone through over Hayden.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with these votes. So I am very sorry. We're all very sorry to Riley for the Clay vote not being added on here, but Clay got some love, and maybe he comes back. Who's to say? But that is that. Let's pull the wheel back up and get to our second matchup here with Clay evicted. Who's up next?
Who's up next, baby? Who's up next?
I mean, surely we got to get some BBCAN. Like, they're all
I
here,
feel
like every single one of them.
Odds are we've got to get at least one.
You would think so. Is it going to be right now? Let's see.
Who's it?
Okay. So this is Vanessa from Big Brother Canada 11.
I was like,
Oh,
that last name. I'm a
That
little
is in
left-
fact-
Vanessa.
That is in fact a person who played Big Brother. Yes.
MacTavish.
Now, Goose, the neighbor here on the wheel, I do believe I see Bailey's name right next to it. I know
Oh,
you can't.
I
really
would have
see
loved
it.
to have got Bales.
Can I zoom in at all?
Um,
Zoom. No, I can't. But Bailey is right there, and Dane is right next to it. So that's your wheel
Ooh.
neighbors for Vanessa. But look, she had to come up sooner or later. Right, Big Brother Canada 11.
Yes.
Just. I think she was the third person to leave the house. Or was it, no, fourth?
Unconventionally.
I think it was fourth because Rob went before she left, right?
Yeah. So was she technically the third or
Yeah.
fourth to leave?
I think
Third?
Okay, well, Amon left. Then they voted out John Michael. And then was it?
Then
I
she
think-
Yeah, it was,
Rob
it was
got voted
Amal,
out.
Amal went
Oh,
after
no.
4 days. Then John Michael got evicted. Then
And
Roberta.
then Roberto left. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, and then
Vanessa
she
walked on day
left,
22, and Zach walked a couple days later with that whole ordeal.
Ugh, what a mess.
So we're not going to have a whole lot here. Amon,
Yeah,
are there
not a
even
whole
notes
lot.
on Vanessa?
There are notes.
Let me pull up her picture, of course.
Vanessa, ultimately, the reason behind her exit is even more confusing, given that all executive producer Aaron Brock said was that her departure was for undisclosed reasons. She left due to a medical emergency, and they intentionally had some fun with people to stir the pot a little at the end, whatever that means.
Oh, I think because when they were talking to the pre-jurors on the stage, I think she said something. I forget what she said, but it was something about, or maybe she said something like, oh, she was glad that like Hope got rid of Zach through the whole note thing. She said something cheeky like that. I think that's what they're referring to.
Yeah.
I don't even remember her being at the it's not a reunion, but at the finale. Usually they don't, not usually, sometimes they don't like let those players come back who disappeared, but his circumstances were different because I don't think that they had Zach back for that. I don't.
Amon was back, so it's everyone except for Zach they had back.
Vanessa, I mean, you know, the biggest thing that I remember about her is her blow up with Zach, calling him out on being a bit too gamey for her liking, and not respecting the fact that people can be emotional players and that emotions are, you know, they're good to have in the game because they create perspective and they can create bonds. And that was her big blow up. That was her moment to sort of like show people, hey, this is my target. This is who I want out. So be with me because I'm with you if you're against him. Outside of that, again, it's so hard when it comes to BBCAN11 because we don't have a lot of feeds.
Yeah.
And she really wasn't on.
And she wasn't on them at all in the first place.
Really
she was
wasn't
barely
on the digital
there.
dailies.
Interesting.
No.
So it's hard, but that's
very little data here. Like the scenes you were talking about, Amon, were specifically the ones that we get highlighted, I guess, the most with her versus Zach. And eventually they make up and or Zach apologizes and she accepts it in some capacity. But then the way her game ends, Goose, if you remember as well, is just that Kuzi nominated her. She was on the block. I don't remember if she was like slated to go home but this is, I think, the exact same week of the Zach situation that Zach is like threatening to leave the house with the Hope stuff. And then all of a sudden she's gone. Aaron Brock, right, tells the house it's over. She's gone. And we're going to proceed with the week kind of as normal until Zach also leaves.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I'm sure like whatever went on there, like personally made sense for her. But like, if we're just talking gameplay, it's a shame. Cause I think honestly, there's a good chance she stays. Because, like, I mean, I think Kuzi definitely would have considered the Zach move that week, regardless of if Vanessa walks or not. So I think there's definitely a chance she would have stayed. But I mean, hey.
Yeah, it was, so Kuzi's HOH. She nominates Hope and Vanessa, I think, at first, or Santina and Vanessa. What?
I think Santina and Vanessa. Yeah, because Santina's on the block when
and then
Zach
Hope goes up. Okay. So Hope wins the veto.
Vanessa left, and Hope went up. It's because Vanessa left, Hope went up.
Right. So Kuzi's like out here nominating a million different players, like she's like Cody in 19 or something like that. And again, not a lot of data here for Vanessa, but she had to come up eventually, and she could beat someone, right? Somebody out there.
You never know.
Yeah, there's a handful of players. It could happen.
The one thing I can say is, but like mentioned, the fight with her and Zach, probably having that like out in the open probably kind of helped stirring up the Zach sentiment. But aside from that, not much to really say in terms of great gameplay and whatnot.
Yeah, your season, I should say, Goose. Nothing like that. Not because BBCAN, especially, of course, you look at 8 very special circumstances, 11, a couple of these circumstances, like just in this back half of the series, a lot of times the people would just have to leave, decide to leave. But you guys got a nice, straightforward season of Big Brother.
Yeah, it was great. Like nobody even talked about like leaving, as far as I know. So that was really nice.
It was a solid cast of people that wanted to be there, were playing the game. I mean, I can think of like, and I won't be super shady in the moment, but like 1 or 2 people that weren't playing as hard as others. But everybody wanted to be there at least.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wanted to be there,
which led to the emotions that we get on Movie Night Massacre. Not to keep going back there, but crazy stuff. Did you have let me ask you this now while we had not a whole lot to say about Vanessa. What were your thoughts at the point that you do go out in the game? Like, what were you thinking was your path forward? Whether it was with specific people or like kind of still laying under the radar a little bit?
So basically at that point, I realized Todd's my most trustworthy ally. Got to stick with Todd. Definitely want to go to at least final 3 with him. Even though I didn't really trust Kayla that much anymore, I still wanted to work with her. And I was like on Spicy's side of the house. That being said, though, and Todd agreed, like we needed to get some people out on our side. So I kind of wanted to just like bounce back and forth. Like I think in my ideal like plan of how things would go at the point, like right after the Matt vote, I think it was I wanted Tola to go at 9, Avery at 8, Dougie at 7, Bailey at 6. That would have been tough, of course, because like Todd and Bailey were close. But
Yeah.
And then 5, I think I wanted Lexus at. No, wait, did I want Lexus or Spicy? No, I wanted Lexus at 5, Spicy at 4. And then, I think I wanted to go to 2 with Kayla because, like, I figured Todd was so loyal and people were always talking about loyalty. But I think there's a good argument that if things go my way, I end up realizing I have a better shot. Todd. I mean, like, I didn't have very much win equity at all, so I'd probably lose either way, unless in this great scenario, I just do some really cool stuff and get some redemption. But yeah, that's pretty much where my head was at before the massacre.
Yeah, you're obviously, as we mentioned, being used as a pawn a good amount, but like a couple of comp wins and starting to like have the game under your thumb. Like people can't deny that at a certain point, especially as like emotions get heavy with one another. And if they're all getting mad at each other, which did happen throughout the course of the rest of that season, just hanging in there with a couple more comp wins, you could have been good all the way through to the end. But and I also meant to ask you earlier, just like thoughts on playing with 2 returning players. What did you think when you first saw them, and how did that like change your season as you were playing the game?
I was like, oh dang, I'm in for it. And it's funny because I was like, if I ever end up playing against Anthony, I've got to change my strategy to just make sure Anthony goes as soon as possible. But I have like one big conversation with them, and I'm like, hey, like I'm under the spell, but at least I realize it. But yeah, I was like, he was the first person I felt like a really decent like connection that valued as a player. Because like I thought I'd go in and be like, oh, this person's my ride or die, but I didn't really like see that. And then I talked to him, and it was really good. And week 1, we were pretty good. And I was like, hey, I want to work with Anthony, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't bring Anthony to the end. I was like, Anthony's such a good player. He's gonna have to go eventually. You can't let him get too far, or he's gonna get to the end again.
Right.
And I think definitely it's a very difficult dynamic to play with, because like like if you say Anthony's name, you're pretty much toast, right?
Yeah.
And I was very cagey, very careful. And you see in my HOH, I was basically trying to like change the system from the inside. Like, because I realized everyone was playing his framework. They were like, oh, Dougie played the game like this. Dougie's saying you play the game like this. We should do the same. So I tried to subtly show people there's a different way to do things. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work. So yeah, it was very difficult for me to try to play along with the system of the All-Stars. And I definitely should have probably taken some bigger swings to smash that structure. But it was definitely a difficult system to navigate with. And 2, I found like it was interesting because I obviously knew Dougie was a huge player, a huge threat. Spicy, while I was aware she's a threat, she's playing for the second time, and I saw her season. She wasn't bad at the game, but I saw her as more of as like a character, and then playing with her was like, no, she's like a really great player too. She's really smart.
Yeah.
So it was quite the experience playing with 2 All-Stars. It was very difficult.
Yeah. While I enjoyed the season, I don't envy the position.
It's such a special thing to highlight, in that like it can be so hard to combat the tone that returning players set in mixed cast, because a lot of people will just sort of go along with whatever they believe the returnee is like saying about the game, and how it should go, and what they should expect, and how they should respond to things. And once they get like sucked into that paradigm, it's so hard to get out of it. So kudos to you for being so self-aware about all of that, though. That's great.
Yeah, at least that's one thing I was pretty good at. I feel like I was pretty self-aware for the most part.
For sure.
Bit of a rough draw with those players, and especially
the
leagues they formed as they started.
Ass mixtures, like
truly.
ITV and like, come on, like.
And it was tough too. We had like first HOH was Anthony, second HOH was Spicy, so they had like 2 solid weeks to just really like get entrenched there.
We were annoyed too.
Last quick question before I pull the wheel back up. Can you think of any players in BBCAN history? Have you ever thought about this, of like who you would have liked to see in the house, if not for one of them, who you think you could have worked better with?
That's tough. I really like season 6, so someone from season 6.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it's kind of like you see like Avery, like Spicy was her favorite player, and you see like that really gave her some troubles for sure. So it's like, in a way, like honestly, I wasn't like huge, like I didn't hate Dougie or Spicy, but I wasn't like huge fans of them. So I think in a way it kind of worked that it was 2 people that I didn't have like these big like deep feelings for.
You know, I see the vision here when we let's walk down the line of season 6. I can see like if they did what I would like and got Johnny Mulder back in the game, I think you and Johnny Mulder could have been a great team.
That would have been interesting, Johnny. Yeah, maybe.
I think Johnny and you would have seen the value in one another and could have been a low key, like, no one is looking at us. We'll just check in. We'll play our game. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be neat.
That's the vision. But that's me just wanting Johnny to play Big Brother again or some game at all.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah,
really, really good. Can't wait till he comes up. Maybe it'll be right now as we go back to the wheel.
I'm hoping it's me, honestly.
You know,
I'm hoping it's me.
whoever comes
I'll
up,
take the easy
getting
win.
a great draw here. Let's spin the wheel and find out who it's going to be. Hayden got drawn first. Whoever came next, scared for you. This one, kind of the complete opposite. All right. Next name that we have up here is from Big Brother 24, Brittany Hoopes.
Brittany.
Wait, Brittany's 20. Oh,
This
she's
is,
the muffin one, right?
No,
Yeah.
that's Jasmine. Wait, did Brittany?
Oh yeah, that's Jasmine. Who's Brittany? Oh, Brittany. Right.
Brittany was
Brittany.
the best friend
yeah.
on Michael Bruner.
Right, Brittany. Now it's coming
Previous
back.
on the podcast.
Okay.
I think she goes all the way to Final freaking Four.
Yeah. No,
But I don't
you're right.
blame,
Was it
I don't blame you for having that reaction of who's Brittany, because as much as I think she was a worthwhile player, and we'll talk about it, still
didn't
somehow
know
feels
who
a
she
little
was at
forgettable.
the time. It was.
Yeah.
Wait, I was thinking she's
Just
5, but now Alyssa was 5. She's 4. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, she won the veto at 5, which I think is what
that was
brings her
clutch.
to that point. All right, let me pull up Brittany's player card here, and Aman, remind us about Brittany Hoopes.
Brittany's game mostly involved working with Michael. Because her social connections were not strong enough, she was targeted multiple times. Brittany's game started to significantly crack during the double eviction, as Michael tried to save himself with a speech that included exposing Brittany's multiple deals with other house guests. She was not able to recover, and she was consistently targeted and nominated in the following weeks. At the final 4, Monty cast the sole vote to evict her.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, as I mentioned, me pulling up her player card. If anyone is listening on the audio feed and not watching on YouTube, we are on YouTube, just in case you didn't know that. So come find us on YouTube if you want to watch along. But Goose, is it coming back to you now? A little bit about Brittany?
Yeah. Now it's all back. I love 24. Very good seasons. Yeah, it's all back now. I think. Well, I might still be forgetting some stuff, but the big picture, I definitely have. Yeah.
Well, the overall result in the story, all the way at the very end, makes it worthwhile to go back through it all. I think is the general opinion. It's definitely my opinion once you have the full complete story of what happens there. But Brittany works with Michael. Eventually, at a certain point in the season, works with Taylor. The thing with Brittany and Taylor was that some point towards the end game, Brittany stopped trusting Taylor. Taylor's getting closer to Monty and Turner, I guess, to an extent. And Brittany's seeing that Taylor's slipping away from her a little bit. Eventually, Taylor's the one kind of behind the Michael eviction, right? Kind of got the wheels spinning there on other people who she's not the HOH that week, but she did a lot of work in that round. And Brittany feels a little bit disconnected. She was not making it to the end of that game without winning comps to get there, given the structure of who was at the end game, Monty, Turner, Taylor, etc. But she made a valiant effort and made some pretty intense reactions, reacting to Michael and his speech on his way out of the house. Aman, I'm sure you remember.
Yeah.
That was such a good double eviction. Like I feel
It was
like
intense.
I feel like double evictions usually flop these days, but that one was a good one. Like, has there been a really good one since then? Were there any good ones in 25?
I know America goes out in one of those.
Oh yeah, it's America. Yeah. So
And
Oh,
then
no, that wasn't good.
26.
26. Oh, Angela went. It's still though. It was like she was like on her own at that point. So that wasn't really a good double eviction.
I agree.
Yeah.
No,
I guess that's the last good double eviction was Michael getting out.
This one truly knocked a big person out of the game. You know what, Brittany? Interesting game. Game. I think in the beginning, she's very much alone, very much not knowing what to do, very aware of the fact that there aren't a lot of people that treat her as a true ally, sort of like really on the outs of the entire structure of the house. Good with Michael, obviously. Good with a few of the girls. I think the strongest thing that she did was aligning with Michael and aligning herself with Taylor towards the end. But then she finds herself in a bit of a pickle when it comes to that vote with Turner and then trying to blame him on who voted out. I think that she never really felt safe in the game. And I think that her biggest escape route was to deflect as opposed to actually trying to build bonds. I think that she always had like this sort of defeatist attitude when it came to creating alliances with people, as if like no one was ever going to treat her as number one. So I feel like she kind of talked herself out of a lot of stuff during her time in the house. So rootable for sure, but not the most effective player. No.
Yeah, she was like obviously a good ally to Michael, and like she definitely has some gameplay skills. But I think like when that's your number one person, you're that close, and they're playing that good of a game, you got to realize like you've got to end it eventually. Like you're not beating Michael at final 2. I think she needed to really like capitalize on like the move against him. She should have really like put in more work to like be a part of that. And even if like just right when it happened, I feel like she should have been more like, okay, epic, like play along. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she got like too like invested in that even when it wasn't good for her anymore. And I mean, yeah, loyalty in Big Brother, like it only goes so far, you know, like you're playing to win at the end of the day if you're playing well.
Yeah. I just think back to like her, again, her final days with I guess working not so much with Taylor at that point, because you would think that at that point in the game, you're down to final 5. It's Alyssa, Taylor, Monty, and Turner, that she would have been clinging closer to Taylor at that point because they had been working together in the game. But just something switches within their dynamic and the way she feels about Taylor at that point, that people were even like, because she voted to evict Taylor at final 5 when she was up against Alyssa. Of course, Alyssa still goes there, but Brittany, you know, at least the fan reaction online, of course, you know, all of us were rooting for Taylor. When Brittany ends up getting evicted at 4, I think people were marking her as the final victim of Taylor's karma because she voted against her there. So
it was only after she was like effectively trying to get rid of all, because she had been pursuing Taylor as an ally for quite some time, right? Yeah. And she wanted to get rid of as many of Taylor's allies as possible. So Taylor had no other option other than to work with her. And then even when it seemed like most of Taylor's allies were gone and Taylor was still gravitating towards other personalities, she was like, okay, well, bye bitch too. Like, but the fact is, like, you don't have the mojo to make that kind of thing happen. And so to me, it's just like I don't know. It always felt like she was playing from like this, from the bottom up. And I don't necessarily know if that's because she just wasn't amenable to a lot of people, if her social game was just really, really off, or I really don't know. It's kind of hard. I'd have to really sit back and rewatch the season, but it always felt like she never had a good footing with anyone outside of like, please work with me, you know? Yeah.
And she made some worthwhile pitches, I think, to a couple people. Like I remember her pitching to Turner, like, we could make a run deep into the game if we have each other's backs, but it just never stuck. And I guess never felt genuine enough on the other person's end. Cause I do like have a hard time seeing her win against anybody in that final 5. I think she loses to Alyssa, Taylor, Monty, Turner. I think all of them.
Personally, I'd say she's probably a better player than Alyssa, but I think you're right. Where like I think Alyssa would have gotten the jury votes.
Alyssa just had better connections that she just got. She got along with a lot of them better, and nobody disliked Brittany by any means.
Yeah,
no.
But of course, you also have to consider the Kyle stuff. You know, the closing Kyle stuff, and the way that people felt about that. Of course, at the time, not just like the fans, but the players in the house feeling a certain type of way about it. So, you know, while she is likely the winner of this matchup, in future matchups, I could see that, you know, giving her a hard time going forward.
Yeah. Definitely,
So
for sure.
Aman, you want to cast the first vote here? Brittany versus Vanessa.
You know, not too hard of a vote. You know, one player we have lots of data on, the other one we do not. And one player makes it to 4th place. The other one is like in 11th place. So there you go. Brittany, you got the hoop, baby. You got it.
Goose.
Yep, Brittany.
Okay. Brittany is going to get my vote as well, which does bring her to a 4-0 vote. Would you look at that?
Oh, wow.
Someone also put in a vote. Oh, wow.
Another patron vote.
Patrons are going all out.
Patron vote.
We
Okay.
haven't had a ton of them lately, and now they're just flying in here like crazy. This is Liam's vote. I think we have two patron Liams, but one Liam voted for one Brittany, and is certainly happy today as Brittany advances. And not the toughest of matchups, but look, you got to get the votes in. So
Liam, leave it in the comments.
win's a
I want
win.
to know your thought process behind choosing Brittany as your vote. I'm very interested. Let us
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So there's the second matchup of the day, which means we have one more to go. Was the first matchup wasn't hard. I guess it was a little bit more intriguing than the second matchup
Yeah.
of just
Yeah.
slam dunk for whoever came
Exactly.
up next. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah. 2 landslides though.
Maybe this one will be a little bit tougher. Let's see
Yeah.
where we're going next.
Who's it?
And the next player up for today, we just passed Rachel Riley. It's looking
Oh.
like back to
Oh,
BB
Ty
Can
McDonald.
11.
Damn, another
All
winner.
game.
You're getting winners today, Goose. I love
Another
that.
winner, another BB Can player, and yet again, an episode that has 2 players from the same season. Now it's just becoming a thing.
Yeah.
There's that. Ty.
Oh, he's a huge compies. Like that's straight up. Like, did anyone ever I know he has the record with Canada. Did anyone in the US ever get more than 9 competitions?
Good question.
Wait, 9 is like someone else has 9. Isn't there someone else with 9 in the US?
Who has the most?
Was it Michael?
comp
Wasn't it Michael?
wins
They got
in
9?
Probably.
It might
for
be.
Michael Brunner?
history.
And then somebody-
Apparently, Jag has 10.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
beat, and then,
Jag,
and then
right,
Jag
right.
beat Michael with 9. And we talked about
Okay.
that on the podcast when Michael was on. We were like, yeah, like Jag beat you 1 season later. How's that feel?
So, Ty, we just had Bailey on, at the beginning of this round, as we talked
Yeah.
about, and Bailey was reminding us of the story that they were exes, and possibly going to be on the same season. Of course, Bailey ends up on the season with Goose, goes on to win, but Ty did win his own season there. Aman, what else do the notes have to remind us of Ty's game?
Ty, accused of playing dirty at times, involved in the saga of Hope's letter. There were really unhappy vibes around him as a player for a while. He almost quit. His social game has had massive peaks and valleys, but he may just be an undeniable champ in the eyes of some just because of his impressive ability to compete under pressure.
I definitely wasn't. And this, I'm not even to Sean from BBCAN 9, but I wasn't happy watching another person with the same name win. You get 2 Kevins, 2 Ties.
I know.
Like,
I also did that.
Why can't we mix this up a little bit? It's 12 seasons of the show, and we got to have winners, multiple winners with the same name. Anyway, Ty almost quitting with Zach was insane. Just to start with that.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
he
that
was
was
ever going to
wild.
do it, though. I feel like Zach was fully on board. To be
Yeah.
like, I'm done. So I was kind of like, oh, yeah, bro. Yeah. And then as soon as it became real, he was like,
Like, yeah, actually.
which
Yeah.
I kind of always had the energy from him in the front, once that whole entire conversation began.
Yeah.
Ty,
There's
You
some
know,
good here. It's
there-
not
yeah.
like, besides the comp wins, like he had a couple of relationships. Of course, Claudia as the showmans, and that did
Yeah.
get rocky, but also Kuzi being so
Yeah.
tight with him throughout the season. Like
Mhm.
he set up
Mhm.
different spots in the house that he was going to be okay in, but so much of it just felt like he was not like, I don't know that I ever saw him have a long-term plan in the game. He just had some good relationships, and then all of a sudden when he didn't have those relationships, he had comp wins and it worked out.
Yeah. Definitely the fact he was in such a bad spot, after Zach left and he goes on to win the season, you got to give that credit. But yeah, definitely he really needed those. I love a clutch comp win, and that's great. He was able to pull them out, but he had to get a lot of them to get there. But I mean, hey, he was able to do it at least.
Yeah.
The only other thing about Ty is I think that he has a massive sort of over exaggeration of his own importance in the house. I think that a lot of people could see that he was obviously of the stature that he was and wanted him gone. With that being said, though, I think that he had such a domineering personality that a lot of people would sort of acquiesce to whatever it is that he wanted, not because they were trying to kowtow, but more so that it was oh, I'm just gonna do this just to keep him happy and keep him at arm's length. Specifically, I think about that when Daniel C uses the veto on him.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're just going to do this to like placate him. But like, I think the big miscalculation is that they did that when it was way too late in the game, and it was like, girl, get him out now, get him out now. Like, he was already about to be all on the door by himself. Like, follow that energy and get him out now. But it just didn't work out that way. And then he has the confidence to back it up. So, I don't think he's a bad player at all. I think he is one of those people that sort of like rolls with an iron fist.
Yeah.
And if you don't get him while the going's good, you're screwing yourself, and that's not his fault.
Yeah.
So
I really like. Sorry, go.
No, please go ahead, Goose.
I really like that. Like, he has the killer instinct, like that move where it's like Claudia's HOH and he gets Shania out. Like, that was like that was hardcore. That was intense. Like,
that's the move. Like, that's the move that you can point to and say he knew what he was doing to dismantle power structures that were in front of him. Like, he goes on from what we're all saying, like from nearly quitting the game, just in this horrible position when Zach goes and everyone is like against him, to dismantling the crown, dismantling the girly pops, who all looked primed to overtake the game. Like, BBCAN12, what was it, like 3 men left in the game at a certain point, and like a bunch of women. You're like, oh, surely a woman is going to win this game with all the girly pops. Kuzi is still like, there's so many women around, and then he just runs over the entire game all the way to the end. He makes that move in the double eviction, ensuring that Claudia has to get out one of her closest allies. Him and Claudia, like, as a showman's, not on the same page, and she at certain points was like, oh no, I'm going to take him out, and she would kind of make some moves against him, but it was still such an interesting dynamic between the two of them that he always found himself having the upper hand of.
That dynamic, it was like gothic literature. It was really interesting.
And a little toxic. So
a little or a lot. But yeah, and then when you get down to the end game and Claudia wins the final 3 HOH, takes him to the end, pretty much just because she knows she's losing to Daniel C, who has a lot more friends in the jury. So at least if you're up against Ty, people didn't like him as much as people liked Daniel, but the comp wins that he had, plus like, it's not that Claudia didn't do it. Like, Claudia did plenty in the game, but I don't think that she had the social game. Not that Ty had a great social game, but she didn't have the social game to back up, I guess, a game versus Ty and his dominance in comp wins and specific moves that we just highlighted. So Ty, he won.
That he did. He's a winner, baby. Winner, chicken dinner.
I don't know. I gotta say, so Jackson is the only winner that we've had so far that has lost a matchup in round 1.
Who did he lose to?
Jackson lost to Tiffany Mitchell.
Oh, from 23?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, yeah.
I gotta say, before we spin the wheel, and I know there's a lot of players here that did not win, I could see Ty not going through. I know we just highlighted a lot of good things that he did, but
there's potential.
I feel like in general, I'm kind of like a mass of contradictions, because in general, placement's very important to me, but at the same time, it's like sometimes it just doesn't add up, the placement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just like him, the whole wanting to quit the game, that putting him in such a bad spot. Like, I'm never going to look at somebody who had to rely on comp wins as like, the top tier. Like, it's good being able to win those comps, secure your safety, make the couple of moves that he made, all good stuff. But if there's a player that comes up that didn't need those comp wins and, showed better signs of a social game, I don't know.
I think I'll probably end up voting him through, but there's definitely people where I can see like, I'd vote for them over him. Yeah, I mean, he played a good game at the end of the day, got him the W, and that's hard to do in Big Brother.
Well, only one way to find out
if
Ty will make it through to the next round as we pull our final player here today with Goose. What's it going to be? What is it going to be? Who's it going to be? All right.
Who's that?
Well, Big Brother 9.
Caladonado.
Wait, why do I feel like BB9 might have been on Goose's no good list?
Yeah, I haven't seen 9.
This is Alex from BB9, right? I think it is.
Yes.
It is. Well, I think I got to respin.
Well, spin it again, Alex. Baby. Sorry, Alex, you will get your just due.
This isn't quite Matt Rigori. This is Matt Mistakey Gory. Because Goose said that BBCAN9 was not on his list, and I guess I didn't take them off.
Wait, sorry, that's Alex and Big Brother
BB9,
US.
not BB,
Yeah.
BBUS 9, not BBCAN9.
For a second, I was like, wait, is there an Alex I forgot about from Canada?
Misspeaking. Let's spin again. Matt makes mistakes.
That was
Sligory.
just
It
that
happens
was
to the best of us.
It was a
Nobody's
practice
perfect.
spin,
Yeah, exactly.
just to refresh the wheel. You know.
Imagine the next player is also from Big Brother 9. I don't think so though.
Well, it's gonna be another landslide, folks.
Bowie Jane Ball.
Bowie Jane.
Damn.
I mean,
Now, what
she's
is
fun
with
as a character. She's fun as a character.
This matchup is a little bit all about Bailey. We have the ex of Bailey. We have the person who ended Bailey's RHAP Traders game.
I was so annoyed when I heard about that. I was like, flipping Bowie Jane.
I was annoyed watching. I mean, happy for Claire, but oh my gosh. Bowie Jane Ball.
Oh,
Just to
Bowie
start,
Jane.
like,
What
Wait,
a
so
day.
the matchup would have been Ty versus Alex.
yeah.
Ty would have
Mhm.
won that matchup.
Yeah, I think he wins
yeah.
either of them, but yeah.
Yeah.
Bowie Jane.
But
It's-
Bowie Jane,
I feel like I would love a storyline where we have like a Bowie Jane, but then when they actually start winning the comps at the end, they like I actually have a killer instinct. Like I'd love to see that. Unfortunately, we didn't see that with Bowie Jane.
I think we manifested Bowie here by talking about Jag a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
Amon,
Bowie Jane.
what do we have on Bowie Jane from the BB Wikia?
Bowie Jane, initially being loyal to Suri in the Bye Bye Bitches alliance, Bowie quickly defected after being blindsided on her closest ally, Red's eviction. With no true allies and being seen as least threatening, she flew under the radar until her HOH win in week 10, when she formed the new dominant alliance, the Mafia, with Manai, claiming that she did not want to deceive in order to win in playing blindly loyal to the Mafia. Bowie Jane was evicted by Jag at the final 3 to honor his close relationship with Matt.
Bowie Jane.
You said it right
Bowie
there.
Jane.
Blind
I can Bowie
loyalty.
Jane. I can Bowie Jane.
Like, I see why she went in that direction, like working with Matt and Jag, but like she should have realized as things got down to it that it was like, nah, you're not gonna win with Jag. Even Matt. I wonder if she would have beaten Matt. Probably not.
No.
No.
Yeah. So yeah.
No.
Yeah. She needed to. I don't know. Maybe it's
I mean,
she didn't really have much of a path to winning, honestly.
iconic finale moment. Let's all acknowledge.
Yeah, I gotta give her that. Yeah.
Some of us RHAP podcasters do have a very nice mug in our homes with the Mafia hand symbol, thanks to Bowie Jane, and Rob loved that moment just like the rest of us did. But yeah, what is there on Bowie Jane here as a player? She didn't really have a home for a long time in the game until the Mafia forms. She doesn't really have anyone to work with. She is certainly there throughout the early portion of the season, but just not much of a factor. Eventually, she goes on to win that first HOH when who did she evict there?
Was it Cameron?
I think it was Cameron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won HOH the first week of jury. She targeted Cameron. I'm reading off my notes, which she was trying to keep the house happy, but maybe not the best available move that she had at that moment in time. And then she wins the double, which is when she evicts America again, as we were just talking about. And then what is she? She wins another one, right? I don't know.
When was the last one?
Maybe 25.
Who's?
Your memory.
Okay, Matt was HOH at 5, so that wasn't her. Who went on at 6? Was she the final 6 one?
America was final 6 boot, I believe.
Wait a minute, then she didn't win final. Did she win final HOH? No, Jag
she won final 5 as well when Felicia gets evicted.
Oh, right. Oh yeah, for some reason I was thinking Suri was 5, but now
I thought it was Suri that was 5 and Felicia was 4.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're
No. Bowie Jane won the HOH at final 5 is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, so she was HOH.
Gotcha.
So wait a minute.
So Suri went on Bowie's HOH and Felicia was next.
So nope. Bowie won final 4 HOH.
Okay. I was gonna say because I was pretty sure Matt was HOH when Suri left, and that was when I was like, That's when I was like, nah, Matt, like, no. Suri going in your HOH, nah.
No, well, after I made a mistake on the wheel spin, I'm just going to keep making mistakes for the rest of the podcast.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Final
Thank you,
four,
Goose.
that makes sense.
Come back,
Yeah,
please,
Bucks.
every episode. All right. What else? Aman, you're really quiet over there about Bowie Jane. You have a lot to say? You don't have a lot to say?
I mean, Bowie, you know, she's a sweet girl. She's look.
Wait.
What?
Remember the tweet? Somebody was like, the diversity on this cast. There's an Australian.
And there you have it. Bowie, you know, much like her little blurb on the wiki has said, sort of, I mean, I don't know if she was playing under the radar, if she just was not being included, right? Like, I think there is a lot of game that happens around her. I do think that she gets pulled into conversations. You know, she had the bye bye bitches thing going on. She had a small type of relationship with Nicole. She had a small relationship with Felicia. Obviously she had the relationship with Red, but I remember a lot of us being confused by her gameplay in the beginning and in the middle portion of the game, because whenever her alliances would try to talk, she'd be like, all right, well, I don't want to be seen in here, so I'm going to leave. And it's like, girl, no, don't do that. Like, you need to stay and actually be like, know what's going to happen. I always felt like she had to like play catch up after each week. And again, I don't know how much of that has to do with her personality. I don't know how much of it is just to do with like her play style, or how much other people were just more involved with other people. But again, it's just one of those games where you don't really find yourself until the very, very end. And again, even out of that was a relationship that was more so out of convenience. Not that Bowie Jane isn't a likable person. I'm sure she's fine. I'm sure she's a lovely human being. But that mafia was that was not because of you, Bowie. It wasn't. And yeah, the game doesn't really have much to show for it. Not at all.
When she gets evicted in third place and goes out the exact same way as Christmas does, of just kind of like with a smile on your face, happy because your friends are in the final two, that kind of thing gets under my skin, because I'm like, you are so close to the end of the game. You know, are acting like, and it's not just her, you know, Christmas, anybody who ends up in this spot, it's like, you're acting like this is a win because your team got to the end. This is not a team game. You want to get yourself in those chairs and win this money, unless anybody gets to this spot and maybe the money's not that important to them at this point. The friendships are more important, maybe. But it frustrates me. And I'm sure a lot of players that played with Bowie might say the same, that it was a frustrating experience at time. I feel like you might say the same for some of the people that played in the RHAP traders. But if there's one thing that Bowie has going for her, it's that the fans who see the worthwhile nature of her as a television character, and even just able to laugh at the unique way she interacts as far as gameplay is concerned, see the value in Bowie Jane on Big Brother and these games.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel you. Like, definitely as a character, I like her, but I also, going off of what you said, the thing is, it's like, I get how deep the bonds get in that house, but like at the end of the day, it's so frustrating because like it's like if you're playing a board game with like, how many people? Let's say 4 people. If one person in that board game isn't playing to win, it screws the people who are like really going for it, because it's like you can't predict. Because it's like any group, any game with multiple people, like if people don't actively play for their own interests, it just like screws the people who are, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah. I remember specifically the whole blow up between Corey and
Jared.
Thank you. I forgot that child's name. Jared and Corey, and she had been silent the whole time. And then when they're starting to break everything down and who said what and when people came after who, and Felicia tries to jump in a little bit, or excuse me, Sari tries to jump in a little bit to sort of, you know, cape for her son. And Bowie's like, well, hold on, don't say anything. I'm like, oh, so now you want to play? When seemingly your allies, like Sari, who's supposed to be your ally, and part of this is Sari's fault, because Sari could have like really done a better job at corralling Bowie Jane to her side, kind of neglected that relationship. But still, it's like, this is supposed to be your ally, and now you want you're not supporting the narrative that she is like trying to put forward. It was just like where are you trying to go in this game? Like, who are you trying to be loyal to? Because she had no dog in that fight, yet she still like inserted herself for a certain narrative. So she's like, Bowie, like, and that's fine if you want to do that, like play your own game, but it's just like, what is the end goal for that? Because at the end of that conversation, at the end of that big house meeting, her position in the house doesn't change. So it was just like very just, I don't know, just inconsequential.
That being said, like she does get pretty far. I feel like she's definitely got like some like good skills for the game, even if it's just like instinct based. Like instinct goes a long way in Big Brother. But yeah, I think it's just it's the end game. The end game, I think, is where it gets to the point where it's like, no, you gotta get that killer instinct now, or you're not gonna win. And that's what happens. She doesn't win because she doesn't have that killer instinct.
I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of players. I don't know, worse than Bowie Jane. I think, to like the final five. And I think of like her and Jag, like pressing that Suri had to go at that point, because obviously if Suri is available to go at that point, she should be going home. So just like, I don't know, being aware of that, she really wasn't ever snowed by Suri or anybody on that side, but also because she knew that they weren't bringing her in a whole lot, even though she was like supposedly part of that group, but she was never actually part of that group. So she just like knew not to actually pledge her loyalty to them.
But they tried in the beginning. They tried, and she kept rebuffing them.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's like annoying to me, is that like
did you
self-fulfilling prophecy, at least in my mind.
Do you remember feeling like it was like the most authentic from them though? I can't recall if it was like genuine, like, no, actually work with us, or just kind of like placating a non-factor player.
It wasn't the most authentic, no. So I can understand why she might feel a little like verklempt about it, but at the same time, she also wasn't bringing anything to the table. And not even just with that group, but with anybody else, maybe with the exception of Red. So it's just like, girl, if you want people to bring you in, sometimes you get lucky in Big Brother. Sometimes alliances fall into your lap, and it is what it is. But if that's not happening for you, you have to figure out what is your positioning in this game? What are you doing to control that? She wasn't doing anything. Yeah. So it's just like, of course, people are going to be like, oh yeah, bring Bowie Jane in, because we can use the extra number. Mm-hmm. But if you're the extra number, that's probably because you're not doing anything. Like, come on, do something.
I will say, since the season has ended, I do think she's one of like the most liked members of the cast. I think like everybody on her season, for the most part, that you hear talking about Bowie Jane has like a lot of good things to say about her. So seemingly a very nice person, a very fun person, even if not like the most enthralling game player. So
this is no diss to Bowie Jane as the human being. Again, wonderful person, but the game is the game.
Yeah, I'm sure she's great. And I mean, like, one thing you got to give her is, like, from what I remember, she didn't do like a lot of big mistakes. Like, sometimes less is more, It's not like she was like going and digging herself holes and falling into them every week. She definitely could have been more proactive at some points, and she definitely didn't have the killer instinct at the end. But I mean, it wasn't like she was like constantly picking fights or like doing really next level stupid stuff. So you got to give her that.
Yeah. With that said, our vote here is going to be between the winner of Big Brother Canada 11, Ty McDonald, versus Bowie Jane Ball from BB25. I realize that I have not yet gone first tonight, so I will do that this time, and I'll cast a vote for Ty to go through to the next round, evicting Bowie Jane. Goose, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, same. I'll give my vote to Ty.
All right. Oman, were you going to vote differently?
Who's the more, who's the person that I'd probably vibe out with more? Definitely Bowie Jane. Who played the better game? Yeah, it's hard. Like, I mean, sorry, Bowie.
I can't tell. Were you thinking about it?
I think he was.
I was, even though like a lot of my commentary on Bowie Jane was very down in her game, I was like, like at the same time, she's not a horrible player, and I feel like she does relatively okay in most casts. I think the only thing that I have a problem with mostly is just her unwillingness to sort of play ball with a lot of people.
Bowie Jane Ball.
Yeah. And so I think if she was just a little bit more self-interested, I think that she would be a pretty decent player because I think that would still do a pretty good job of managing her threat level. Whereas with Ty, he was very much in your face all the damn time, threatened to quit. The game is like very, very messy. So like I was trying to like think, is there a way in which Bowie is like just a little bit better more often than Ty is, but at the same time, Ty kind of has like a little bit of that Anthony Douglas in him where he's just like brute force, like I'm going to make it happen. So it's just kind of hard to overcome that.
So final vote is Ty 3-0.
Final vote is Ty.
Yep.
Guess what? It's not a 3-0 vote.
Again? Wow.
All these patron votes today, y'all better come through.
Which way do you think this vote went? You think it was a vote on Ty or a vote on Bowie?
We said it's not a. Oh, I guess it could be a 4-0.
Ty?
I'm assuming it's a Bowie Jane vote.
We got a split vote here. Goose says Ty, Amon says Bowie. It's a Bowie Jane vote.
Wow, Bowie Jane.
We had 2 disappointed patrons in one day. We're not doing something right around here.
Yeah, should have voted Bowie Jane. That would have been Bowie
You were
Jane
about to send Bowie Jane to the next round, and you didn't even know it. So shout out to Will. And by the way, Amon, you may remember Will was on the most recent patron episode, and I was asking him about his vote, and I said, don't tell Amon what your vote is because I want it to be surprising when it comes up on the wheel. Today's that day. And I went back, I just looked in our messages with Will, and I was wondering if he explained the vote. I think he was explaining it was for shock value. And mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
say.
there you go. It was close.
So,
that was a close one, bitch.
I think this was the first vote for all of those 3 patron votes. So I will be messaging all of them to get their second vote for this round. Everybody's getting up to 2 in the round. So we'll see where this goes from here. But a 3-1 vote. Bowie Jane does get some love on her way out. To recap here, Bowie Jane has been evicted for now from the bracket. We'll see if she's able to make her way back in. But Ty is advancing, the BBCAN11 winner, to the next round. We also lost, we did lose somebody from BBCAN11. That's Vanessa, who left the bracket. Brittany Hoopes from Big Brother 24 advances, also who had a patron vote. And then Clay Honeycutt, despite his patron vote, did not advance to the next round, as Hayden Moss, the winner of Big Brother 12, did advance. Goose, Clay, Vanessa, Bowie Jane, you see any of these as contenders to win a battle back vote?
Probably not. I already forgot who's like everybody else's, but I remember there's no like clear front runner. So I mean, maybe, but yeah, it's just between the 3 of them. I don't. Think,
I will say
it's hard to say.
I will say, Amon, knowing our patrons as we do after 7 battle back votes so far, I think this could be the top 2 of who gets the most votes, Clay and Bowie Jane.
Wow.
Because Goose, like you were saying, it was not the most impressive field of other names. There's reasons for both. I think it'll be funny to see Bowie get some votes, and I think some patrons might vote with their eyes too for Clay.
They're definitely the most high profile, I think, out of all the ones that we've had so far. So
I wonder if this is the 2. But also, there's other people in there that I think could get some votes. I think Tiffany Russo could get some votes. Mimi could get some votes.
Oh, Tiffany. Right, yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. The only way to find out is to sign up, patreon.com/the diary room. That's where we are going to do a losers bracket very soon, where we're going to take all of these 15 losers that have just been eliminated. We're going to find out which one of them we crown the worst of the bunch. And then we will also do the battle back vote in due time, send one of them back in going forward. But that's it for today. Goose, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
So glad we made this work and finally got you in here. Anywhere that you want people to follow you on social media, anything to plug or anything going on these days?
Instagram, it's Goose Elijah. Twitter and Blue Skies, Elijah the Goose. TikTok, Goose Elijah. My TikTok's basically just me like posting about books. If you like books, that's good. And it's not until the end of the year, but I do have a poetry collection getting published at the end of the year. So I'll post about that when it's like close. So if you like poetry, please buy that. I'll post about it closer to when it comes out. So,
Make sure you let us know. We'll retweet as much as we can and get the word out there.
Come on, poet. I love that.
If nothing else, also the plug should be watch BBCAN12 because not a lot of people did, of course. Just as far as,
right?
the live feeds disappear, a lot of fans disappeared, and we know the story there. But if I have not preached about BBCAN12 enough.
Yeah, I appreciate it because I think that's such a neat like Cold War like dynamic you don't really ever see. So I think it's neat if only for that.
Did you guys watch jury footage did you watch footage at the jury house of the Spicy V versus Anthony fight? Or did you
All
not
we
see that
saw at the jury house was Kayla Avery got to see. Wait, am I allowed to say this?
Is there even a company to like stop?
Actually, wait, it's on the website, so like the people would know this. Like, yeah, they did a video on it, so it's fine. So Kayla and Avery got to see their goodbye messages, and we got to see footage from the double eviction. Yeah, that was on the show, and like Tola comes in, and we watch it. And
so the first time you saw the Spicy V versus Anthony Final 5 fight would have been probably when you got home, unless they aired it during the finale.
Nah, I didn't see it until I got home and got to watch the show. Yeah.
I can't even imagine seeing that for the first time as a player of the season. Just
yes, week 5, like seeing it was very interesting because like you hear about it, but watching it something else. Just watching the whole season, like it was just like wow.
Spicy V returned to form. I loved it.
Well, thank you again, Goose, for joining us today. A great time here with some very interesting matchups. A lot of patron votes. Aman, how's Drag Race going as we approach March, or we're in March?
Drag Race season 17 has been a pretty good ride thus far. Having a fantastic time with Fiona and Beth. I recently just recorded, obviously when this podcast comes out, it's a little bit, past the fact, but we just recorded with Big Brother 15 winner Andy Herron. So if you have not yet checked that out and you are a Drag Race consumer, you can find all of that over there on that feed. But other than that, that's it for me. You can follow me everywhere at Amon Adwin.
Yeah, there we go. And as for me, check me out on the Free Agents podcast, talking all things the challenge, the traders, which as of the time that this comes out should be wrapping up, I believe, this very week. So it's been a great season of both shows, the Challenge All-Stars 5 and the traders. Also, Aman, guess who I'm talking to tomorrow for the Free Agents podcast, which of course is a couple weeks behind the time this comes out. A player that's already gone through to the next round of this competition. We're interviewing Kyland over there tomorrow. So.
Hey! Okay, all right. Ask him to come on the show.
You gotta do that too. So if you want to hear from Kyland talking more probably about his challenge career than his Big Brother career, but maybe we'll touch on all of it. Go check that out on the Free Agents feed if you have not already heard it, and everything else that we have going on there. Mention the Patreon 1,000 times so you know where to find that. Make sure you're subscribed. Press that button down below. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, all the fun things that you can do to help us along here if you are enjoying the content. So thank you again, Goose, for joining us. I think that's it for now. Aman, unless you have anything else, close us out.
That'll be it for us. Our thanks to Goose once again for joining us on today's episode of The Diary Room. And until next time, please go to The Diary Room.